Okay, here I have a blank console application and I want to create a class called person. So we can't create a class here inside the main method because that's a function or a method. So we need to create a class at the namespace level. So look, here we have a namespace and here's one default class. We can create another class at this level. So public class person, code block. Now let's declare a couple of fields. So public string first name, public string last name. And now let's declare a method, public void, which means it doesn't return any values, introduce. And here I simply use console.writeLine to output the full name of this person on the console. So console.writeLine. My name is first name plus, I would like to add a space between them, and last name. Now let's create an object of type person. So we go to the main method. We can start with person. Let's call this John equals new person. And note the green highlight here. ReSharper is suggesting to use var to make this code a bit shorter and cleaner. So I put the cursor here, Alt and Enter, and Enter. Now let's set the first name and last name for this object. So John dot first name equals John. John dot last name equals Smith. And now we can call the introduce method. Let's run the application with Control and F5. So my name is John Smith. Okay, now let me show you something. When you write a real-world application, you're going to have tens, hundreds, or even thousands of classes. So you're not going to put all of these classes inside this file here. Otherwise, the file will explode. So we want to have one class per file. If you have ReSharper, you can easily move this class to a new file. So all you do, you put the cursor on the class name, press Alt and Enter, and note the first option, move to person.cs. Enter. What happened was ReSharper automatically created a new file called person.cs and moved this class from program.cs file, which was here, inside the new file. So I didn't have to go manually create a new file and type the name of the class there. But if you don't have ReSharper, that's perfectly fine. So to add a new class to your project, go to Solution Explorer, right-click on your project, then go to Add. Actually, you can see that here. Let me drag the Solution Explorer to the left. Okay. Now, right-click, Add, Class, or you can use the shortcut Shift, Alt, and C. Now, in this dialog box, type the name of your class. Let's say calculator. That's it. Now you got a new file here, calculator.cs, and here's a class. Note that in this example, because the name of my project is C# Fundamentals, every time I create a class, by default, it's added inside the C# Fundamentals namespace. In the introduction of this course, I explained that we want to group related classes inside different namespaces. So perhaps the concept of person is different from calculator. Calculator is more about math, whereas person could be part of a commerce application. So a better way is to right-click the project, go to Add, New Folder. We create a new folder like Math. Then we move this calculator class there. Confirm. The only problem is when you move, the namespace is not changed by default. So you need to go here, manually add .math here. Or if you have ReSharper, you don't have to even type that. You can put the cursor on the namespace and press Alt and Enter and Enter. And that automatically updates namespace to C# Fundamentals.math. So here's our calculator class. First, we add the public keyword so that it's accessible. Note that if I don't add that, and I go to program.cs, I'm not going to be able to create a new instance of calculator. So if I type calculator, see, IntelliSense cannot find that class because it's not accessible. Now we go to calculator, add the public keyword here, back to the program. And ReSharper is suggesting to import that calculator class, which means adding a using statement on top of this file. So with ReSharper, I can press Alt and Enter, and that would automatically add this using statement here. But if you don't have ReSharper, you have to go on top of the file, manually type the name of the namespace where that class is declared. So using C# fundamentals.math. So you see, ReSharper makes coding a lot easier. You don't have to worry about these namespaces. What class is in what namespace? And you don't have to type them. You just type the name of your class and let ReSharper do all the plumbing for you. Okay, now we have a calculator class. Let's create an object. And we use the new operator to allocate memory to that object. And I just realized that we didn't add any methods to this class. So let's get back there. Let's create a new method called add, which returns an integer and takes two parameters, a and b, and it simply adds them together and returns them. Now we save the file with Ctrl and S, get back to program. A quick way of doing that is you press Ctrl and Tab, and you can switch between the open windows in Visual Studio. So you don't have to grab the mouse every time and click these tabs on the top. You can do everything with your keyboard. So back to program.cs. And here we call the add method. We pass two arguments, 1 and 2. We can store the result in another variable, var result equals, and we can output that variable on the console. So console.writeLine result. And now let's run the application with Ctrl and F5. So the result is 3. Now, before we finish this lecture, I want to show you something interesting here. Look, every time we use console.writeLine, we access that method directly on the console class itself. What does this mean? That means the WriteLine method is defined as static. We don't have to go and create a new console object in order to call the WriteLine method. So you already used a static modifier before without being aware of that. In this case, all methods of the console class are declared as static because we only have one console when we run the application. That's it for this lecture. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.